In modern society, narcissism is not just an isolated personal trait, but is becoming a trend that is nurtured and encouraged. Many studies show that the rate of young people displaying narcissistic traits is increasing compared to previous generations. In the past, people valued humility, collectivism, and community values, whereas today, society emphasizes a strong self, turning self-assertion into a common standard of living. Popular culture, especially the media, constantly praises prominence, appearance, and quick success, leading many to believe that being noticed and admired is more important than making efforts or building inner value. Narcissism in modern society is no longer merely an individual psychological trait, but has become a phenomenon observable in many areas of life. It infiltrates the way people think, behave, build relationships, and even affects the economy and overall culture. To understand this narcissism epidemic, we need to look at its characteristic expressions on three levels: individual, social relationships, and community culture. First, in personal life, narcissism manifests primarily as an obsession with oneself. Those with narcissistic traits always see themselves as the center of attention, craving admiration and recognition. They frequently seek ways to flaunt achievements, appearance, or possessions, viewing them as measures of personal value. A photo posted on social media is not merely for sharing, but is a tool to assert the self. The number of likes, shares, or positive comments becomes the yardstick of happiness, even determining their emotions for the day. Narcissists also often lack empathy. They find it difficult to put themselves in others' shoes, paying little attention to the feelings or actual needs of those around them. When criticized or not receiving the recognition they expect, they easily become angry, react harshly, or attempt to belittle others to protect their self-image. This makes them struggle to maintain psychological balance, often falling into anxiety or disappointment when the spotlight no longer shines on them. Another trait is their excessive concern with outward image rather than inner values. Many narcissists invest heavily in appearance, fashion, and a glamorous lifestyle primarily to attract attention. Meanwhile, efforts to develop skills, knowledge, or nurture character receive less attention. As a result, their lives often become superficial, shallow, and prone to crisis when facing real failures. Next, let us consider social relationships. Narcissists often treat relationships as tools for serving personal needs rather than as foundations for sharing and bonding. In friendships, they may only seek others when needing support, admiration, or some benefit. Once the benefit disappears, they easily disregard or cut off relationships without much concern for the other's feelings. In the workplace, narcissism also causes many negative impacts. On one hand, narcissists may appear confident, energetic, and capable of making strong initial impressions. However, over time, selfishness, lack of cooperation, and hunger for power often alienate colleagues and divide teams. They frequently put personal interests above collective interests, readily taking credit for others' work or shifting blame when mistakes occur. This reduces teamwork spirit and efficiency, even undermining the sustainable growth of organizations. In love and marriage, narcissism is a major cause of breakdowns. Narcissists often demand attention and service from their partner, but rarely reciprocate. They tend to control, manipulate emotions, and are prone to infidelity or seeking admiration elsewhere to satisfy their ego. Many studies show that relationships with narcissists are often dramatic, conflict-ridden, and unsustainable. The result is emotional harm for both parties, with those involved with narcissists often suffering significant psychological pain. We can explore narcissism in love and marriage more deeply in the next video. Now, let us examine narcissism on the cultural and community level. On a broader scale, narcissism has become a cultural phenomenon. In consumer economies, advertising and media continuously send the message that personal value is tied to owned products. Shopping, luxury consumption, and material display are regarded as ways to assert status. This fuels the mindset of having more than others rather than living sufficiently for oneself. Social media also contributes to creating a narcissistic cultural space. Posts flaunting achievements, lavish travel, or luxurious lifestyles create constant comparison pressure. Users not only want to live well, but want to prove they are living better than others. This trend reduces authenticity, as many willingly embellish or exaggerate their lives to gain admiration. In entertainment, the phenomenon of instant celebrities, people becoming famous through one video, one trend, or a striking act, clearly reflects the explosion of narcissistic culture. Success is no longer tied to long-term work or dedication, but can come from temporary difference or attention-grabbing ability. This culture drives people to chase fame at any cost, even accepting scandal or offensive behavior to stand out. The spread of narcissism leaves serious and lasting consequences. At the personal level, it makes people prone to anxiety, depression, and identity crises when recognition does not come as expected. In relationships, it fosters superficiality and manipulation, weakening bonds, increasing divorce and loneliness. At the societal level, it promotes unhealthy competition, fraud, corruption, and trust crises. Culturally, it erodes sustainable values such as responsibility, humility, and community spirit. Alarmingly, in many environments, narcissism is even normalized or seen as a key to success. If you have identified the signs of narcissism, what solutions exist to escape this dangerous spiral? Let us consider multiple levels: family, education, community, and individuals. First, let us talk about family. Family is where personality is first formed, so adjusting parenting is the most crucial step in preventing narcissism. In recent years, the trend of raising children to be special has inadvertently planted seeds of narcissistic thinking. Parents often overpraise and satisfy every demand, making children believe they are more important than others and deserve priority in all situations. The solution is not to stop praising or deny children's value, but to praise appropriately, linked to genuine effort. Instead of saying, "You are the best," parents could say, "You worked very hard to achieve this." This teaches children that success comes from effort, not innate superiority. Children should also be taught sharing, caring for others, and understanding that self-worth is not based on being above or having more than others. Next, consider empathy and social responsibility. One of the greatest deficiencies in narcissists is empathy. Thus, society should encourage activities that nurture compassion, such as volunteering, helping the community, or participating in social-emotional education programs in schools. When children and adults are exposed to difficult circumstances, they learn to see life from multiple perspectives and reduce self-centered views. Social responsibility is also crucial. Individuals must be reminded that sustainable growth cannot be separated from responsibility to others and the community. From obeying laws, protecting the environment, to honesty in work and study, all are ways to escape selfishness. Regarding social relationships, one fertile ground for narcissism is superficiality. Today, people may have thousands of friends online, but lack genuine offline connections. To overcome this, we need to encourage building authentic, deep relationships based on sharing and true care, not curated appearances. This can begin with simple actions: spending real time conversing face to face, avoiding phones, interrupting family meals, or sincerely checking in on friends. When relationships are nurtured through real presence instead of likes and comments, people feel more connected and less dependent on shallow admiration.
Additionally, you can adjust your use of social media. Social media is undeniably fertile ground for narcissism. But this does not mean we must abandon it. Rather, learn to use it wisely. First, everyone must recognize that what is shared online is often just the visible, selected part of life. Comparing oneself with others' best images only fuels insecurity. A helpful solution is limiting social media time and using it as a tool for learning and connection instead of boasting. For example, instead of constantly posting ostentatious photos, we can share meaningful stories or experiences. Moreover, actively stepping out of virtual competitions, such as follower counts or likes, helps free oneself from dependence on others' gaze.
Another solution is reducing consumerism and ostentatious living. One driver of narcissism is the consumer economy, where self-worth is tied to possessions. To escape this, people should learn to live simply, valuing intrinsic worth over appearances. Instead of shopping to prove status, we can practice conscious consumption, focusing on real needs and long-term environmental impact. Minimalism has become a positive trend in recent years, encouraging people to find happiness in simplicity, experiences, and relationships instead of materialism. When people stop racing to have more than others, they reduce meaningless competition and discover inner peace. Another important point is focusing on self-development based on genuine values. Escaping narcissism does not mean denying confidence or ambition. On the contrary, people should build confidence on real abilities and contributions to society, not superficial appearances. Studying, honing skills, working diligently, and perseverance are the paths to sustainable value. Alongside this, cultivating self-reflection, the habit of honestly evaluating oneself, recognizing strengths and weaknesses, is key. When people acknowledge their imperfections, they are less prone to self-exaltation and more open to positive growth. Finally, limiting narcissism cannot rely only on individuals, but requires community and policy involvement. Schools can integrate life skills programs, emphasizing cooperation, patience, and community spirit instead of only individual achievement. Media should redirect messages. Instead of constantly glorifying fame and wealth, highlight values such as dedication, compassion, and sustainable creativity. At the policy level, governments and social organizations can create environments that encourage collective responsibility, from environmental protection to promoting sustainable lifestyles to ensuring equal opportunities in education and employment. When society values genuine contributions, narcissistic showmanship will gradually lose its appeal. The solution to escape the narcissism spiral is not a quick formula, but a long-term process requiring change on many fronts: family, schools, individuals, community, and social policy. At the core, all solutions aim to return humans to humility, empathy, and responsibility. When we learn to put ourselves in others' shoes, when we seek happiness in sustainable values instead of shallow admiration, each individual will not only escape narcissism, but also contribute to building a healthier society.